Emily in Paris season 3 just came out, and I have some thoughts. It wouldn't be a far fetch to say that every season I have binged pretty much the same day. Both times, even this time, I walked away from the show feeling underwhelmed and a bit mystified why I felt compelled to finish it practically in one go. Today, yet another time, Netflix got me. I'll only focus on my first impressions of this season and just what it made me feel as a viewer. We have many characters in this show. Emily, our special snowflake, I would say as a whole, she has improved as a character. The extent to which this was the Emily show has decreased. Other characters are allowed to have personalities and backstories, and we're allowed to like them as well, more so this season compared to some of the others. Stereotyping, I think, has gone down a bit, though I'm sure it's still there. And I just don't know what it is. Maybe it's the impression I've gotten from her the past 2 seasons that is hard to rectify, but I don't know if I really like her as a character. I think she has improved. And clearly, I am invested enough to watch the show. But do I actually think she's a good person? Or not? Like, you don't have to be a good person for a person to like the character. Sometimes villains are quite interesting. But Emily was just a bit bland, and you would wonder why everyone loved her so much. So I won't go into every character in this show, but I will discuss some of them. Firstly, Alfie. Oh, Alfie. Honestly, I thought he'd be done after the first episode. I thought they weren't going to keep him in. He'd done his job. They clearly just brought him in the second season, likely to related to some of the criticism they received with their portrayal of people of color. And you have this good-looking man with an accent. He'd added some spice to the mix, gave Emily someone else to focus on in season 2. I thought with the beginning of season 3, he'd be gone. Their relationship didn't seem very solid. And that is not untrue. Their relationship just doesn't feel like it's going to last past the season. And it doesn't. The whole will they or won't they she has with Gabriel, she's had since season 1, is still there in this show. And honestly, was annoying. I was just waiting for the will they because I didn't think a won't they would happen. Any of the obstacles they faced, it just felt so contrived because the universe, the writers, and the production team, everyone wanted Emily and Gabriel to get together. And despite how that season ended, it is highly unlikely it's not going to happen in the next season. And I, for one, preferred them as friends. Gabriel was too wishy-washy for me in the past season. And yeah, I don't like Emily, so, they're made for each other in that regard. But honestly, I don't think either of them should be dating anyone. I think they just need to take some time for themselves, focus on their own careers, and just, let it go to the side. Even if Paris is supposed to be the city of love, la la la, but just seriously, you're not doing anyone any favors with this situationship they have going on. I really enjoy Mindy as a character. I'm glad that we saw more of her this season, more of her career taking off, and we just saw her personality shine through a bit more. She is a good friend that will go to bat for you. She also gave Emily advice that Emily should follow, and I think did follow for most of the season. I would love to see more of Mindy. If she had her own spin-off, I would watch it. Mindy in Paris. I, I honestly think she's more interesting than Emily, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. And finally, I would also Camille. I think in season 1 she was my favorite character, and then season 2 did her so dirty, so dirty. Her entire personality became about getting Gabriel. That was literally the only reason she was on screen. It's like she had nothing else going for her. And I don't understand why they did that. Why they had to just push her so much that she had nothing other than Gabriel. And this season, it was a lot better. And she had that relationship, I'm not sure what to call it, with Sophia. And on the one hand, I'm really happy for her. She deserves better because he is not there 100%, and she deserves 100%. But the way they went about it this season still is in the sense of Emily and Gabriel are perfect for each other, and everyone else is just there. At least it feels like it at times. And although I'm happy for Camille that she, was having fun, because she could tell Gabriel wasn't in it fully, that he's probably still in love with Emily. I mean, she even told him so when they were about to get married. But just the way they went about it just feels off. Like, Gabriel was cheating on her emotionally, basically. And she actually did cheat on him. My opinion here is just, the relationship isn't working. Communicate. Talk with each other. Why isn't it working? What do you need to do? Is this still a relationship that you then want to continue? None of them did that until they were standing at the altar. And even the way she went about ending that relationship at the altar, just I want Camille to be happy, and I'm glad she said no. I'm glad she walked away. But that ending, she just can't catch a break, can she? You deserve better. If you two have watched any of the reviews on Emily in Paris, you can kind of tell that someone somewhere is looking at the feedback they receive on the show and slowly implementing it, not as fully as they maybe should, but someone is listening, and incrementally, season by season, it's getting better. It's becoming slightly less tone deaf. We are seeing fewer stereotypes. We actually see quite a lot of French dialogue happening in this season, which was surprising, especially, it's a French country. If there's one stereotype that that even I'm familiar with is that French people love to talk French, and they would prefer it if you do too. Although it's still an American show, makes sense. But the little side conversations that people have are more likely to be in French than otherwise. We also have Emily actually making progress with her French, using it. She even got into a situation working in the restaurant where she made a mistake any beginner could have made when learning the language. And that was an improvement compared to previous seasons. So I like that they listen to that. It's a show that learns from its mistakes. But what I wonder is why this show? There are many good shows out there getting cancelled. Yet we have a show that has had its fair share of controversy continuing on its path. Once Emily in Paris is done, once I've finished binging it, I don't tend to think about it again, unless YouTube recommends a video to me on a review and I'll watch it. But it doesn't stay in my mind. The reason I'm making this review right after watching the show is because I feel like by tomorrow, the day after, soon enough, I'll forget I even watched it, because it doesn't make any type of lasting impression on you. You don't walk away from the show typically feeling, that was such a good use of my time. I really enjoyed every moment of that, or even most moments of that. Not really. Don't get me wrong. Clearly there's something that works here. Credit where credit is due. It's engaging enough to the viewer. Netflix marketed it in such a way that me, just like every past season, even though I don't think I can say that I actually really liked the show, I did watch it in its entirety. And I'm even here making a review on it. Just why? There's other shows out there that could use the budget, that could use the money to keep going. Why this one? We see more of her work life this time. And I was happy to see a moment being given to the fact that now that she's not employed by an American company anymore, there for a legitimate reason, if she wants to continue working here, she will need a work visa. She's not European. She can't just waltz everywhere. If you want to work there, you're going to need it, and there is a procedure to follow. So I'm glad that they included that. There's just other things that if you've worked at a company or if you have any passing knowledge of how companies work, you're just scratching your head at how. To be fair, most shows have this. You're wondering, how the hell is this person running a company and still having this much time to be this messy? But I would be remiss not to mention these. So here we go. Firstly, Alfie got his role as CFO because he can help the company legally circumvent taxes to operate at a larger scale. Right? At least that's the conversation that Alfie has with Antoine at his going away party, where he's just talking about how many loopholes there are in France's tax system. Does anyone else find it concerning that is the type of conversation he started that out as, and then eventually became CFO for? I'm sure they had a lot more discussion and exchange of ideas before that transition happened, but the guy was working for a bank. There's just something about this that makes me want to know or remember what that company is called, just so I don't apply for it, because I don't see that ending well down the line. I like that we see Emily trying out different things. I like that they briefly went the influencer route, and that we sometimes see glimpses of it. It's not as ridiculous as how quickly her follower count was increasing in the first season, but we do see Emily trying out different things and just enjoying Paris more. And I thought that was nice to see. We also see her working temporarily at Gabrielle's restaurant, which, does anyone think that's a good idea? But no. The mistake she made where she almost had someone go into, I think it's called epiphylectic shock, because he ate mushrooms when he is allergic to them, should probably have been a cause for alarm beyond just a mention. But again, maybe that's just me. So Sylvie basically detaches herself from Safar, and in doing so, she tries to take the clients she had at Safar with her. And it's a bit strange how a big corporation from the United States would not have tried to account for that in some way. And they didn't. Madeline points out that there is a non-compete clause. And it just makes me wonder, did anyone read the contracts that they signed when it comes to their occupation? If I get a job, I am reading the fine print. I am reading every line to know what I'm agreeing to, what I'm entitled to, and what I probably shouldn't be doing. The fact that none of those people there had an idea that this could happen is ridiculous. Just to be fair, when Sylvie basically moves back into the office and Madeline is back to Chicago or whatever, we see that she doesn't deal well with bureaucracy or red tape, any of the documents that come with being your own owner. So I guess it can make sense that she didn't read the contracts in that much detail, but it still is strange that no one did. But anyways, moving on. It feels also like they just left without any notice period. I don't know if Sylvie got fired or she quit, but the others did quit. They were not fired. Is there no such thing as a notice period? I'm sure it must be in the contract or somehow that you at least need to inform your company beforehand so that they have some time to replace you. Is that just not a thing in France? Or do I just have a wrong impression on how companies work? But I thought that was also quite strange because Madeline basically only had Emily, and Emily had left as well, or at least was planning to. I just, find this very strange. I'm also glad to see that there are some consequences to Emily basically taking control of idea pitching as she has with Julien. I think that's his name. Probably leaving for another company after rightfully talking about his concerns of how it's always about Emily. So even though maybe she's improved in the other relationship department, when it comes to how self-involved she is at work and how it's always like her ideas coming through because she's such a marketing genius. It just could be better. Just could be better. Credit where credit is due. As a whole, Emily in Paris has improved as a show. The characters mostly seem to have a life outside of floating around Emily to make her the star of the show, though limited as it is. It is very bingeable, even if in a forgettable manner. And clearly the show has grown over its run. I would be interested in finding out where they go from here, but not to the extent that I would try to find out when the release date is and put it in my calendar. If it comes out, it's likely I'll binge the next season again. Though my earlier sentiment remains. There are so many shows out there that are just, much better, let's say. And it still annoys me that there are shows that are actually good getting cancelled, whereas this show, mired in controversy, being where it is, getting renewed again and again. The show does have good things going for it, but I'll probably forget about it soon. Like most people who watch this show.